Just finished up a fantasy football draft last night, and I gotta say, I think I did pretty good. I'll show you that tomorrow, though. We got some preseason games to talk about first. Welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football, ladies and gentlemen. We, of course, have preseason week 1 game reactions, just takeaways, and players to spotlight. Got 16 games to go through. It's going to be the same thing for regular season week 1, starting September 9th on Wednesday. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight to it. Of course, the first game of preseason week 1, of course, these are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games, by the way. First game, of course, Cincinnati beat Detroit 16-14. I will say, field goal kicking was immaculate. 5 combined field goals between the two teams, but that's not what we're all about. I mean, the kickers this preseason week have actually been pretty good. First off, the quarterbacks for Detroit. Yeah, Luke Allmeyer did not have a great game. 130 yards. He was 13 of 22, but he did throw a touchdown, 2 picks. And for Cincinnati, 4 quarterbacks came into the game. The best one, it seems like it was Joe Flacco, who threw the only touchdown pass for Cincinnati. Another player I wanted to highlight was Jacob Sailors, a running back for Detroit. Ended up having 83 total yards, rushing and receiving. And finally, for Cincinnati, I wanted to talk about their defense because they forced 3 turnovers. It was 2 interceptions, one by Russ Yeast and one by Jordan Battle. And of course, there was also a fumble recovery defensively, recovered by Cassius Howell. Wasn't forced, it was probably a self-inflicted error, but that's pretty alarming. Cincinnati just probably had better defensive depth than I originally thought. Maybe some of the guys that were out there could be starting. Actually, Jordan Battle might be starting, but maybe a couple other good defenders might be there too. Next game, we got Steelers bludgeoning the Packers 28-9. The only points that were scored were from Green Bay's kicker for the Packers. Yeah, so Trace Smack from Florida actually had 3 for 3 field goals, and he had a long of 58 yards. Definitely better than what McManus did last year. No offense to him. I kind of like him. First thing I wanted to highlight, besides Trace Smack, the only thing I wanted to really talk about Green Bay was their defense getting 3 sacks. Brenton Cox, Zaire Franklin, and Oladapo. I want to say that's Kitan Oladapo. All 3 of those guys got sacks on Pittsburgh, whether it was Mason Rudolph or Drew Aller. 2 players I wanted to highlight. First one, Drew Aller. Pittsburgh's 3rd round pick from Penn State at quarterback. He throws 2 touchdowns and runs for another. He actually had the best performance of any quarterback in that Thursday game slate. Yes, Lou Nichols had a rushing touchdown, but the second player I wanted to highlight to, and the final one at that, was Caden Wetchen. He was actually a 4th round pick from Iowa, so back-to-back rounds, Drew Aller and Caden Wetchen, they actually connected on a touchdown pass, and Wetchen even had a 60-yard after-catch scamper on a 74-yard catch. I just watched that play, and it's actually Weejan. That was some good wheels for that Iowa receiver. Best defensive player in this entire slate on Thursday was, of course, Jamin Davis, who led the way for 5 total sacks with 2. 5 total sacks for the defense. It was 2 for Davis. The Steelers definitely found something with those 2 rookies, Drew Aller and Weejan. Green Bay? I think you might have just found yourself a new kicker. Next up, we had our first tie of the preseason. Colts and Patriots tied at 13. A couple things to highlight from this game. I mean, Anthony Richardson still sucks as a passer. He did have a rushing touchdown, however, so yeah, I mean, he's good as the backup or 3rd stringer. Because Daniel Jones literally runs laps around him. Actually, a very solid game from Will Mallory as well. 6 catches for 80 yards. That dude's a tight end. Defensive player I wanted to highlight was Caden Curry, 1 of 2 sacks. He also had 2 TFLs. For the Patriots, the only passing touchdown of this entire game came from Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets. 138 yards, 13-22, and a touchdown pass. And who caught that touchdown pass? That speedster, Kyle Williams from Washington State. And the last thing I wanted to highlight from this game was the fact that this defense somehow tied, and they forced 4 turnovers. 2 picks, 2 fumbles. One of the fumbles were forced by KJ Britt, recovered by Del Pettis, and the other one, a recovery by Isaiah Aiton, a forced fumble by John Saunders, who also got a pick alongside Kendall Vilder. Turnover battle was so overwhelming. How on earth was this a tie? I guess what it mattered most, New England just failed to score. Oh yeah, that makes sense because they only scored 3 points in the whole 4th quarter. Next up, Chargers crushed the Texans in the preseason 27-7. Couple players to take a look at. Trey Lance, I'm sorry, but your days of a starting quarterback are over. And even DJU went 6 of 9 for 120 in a score. But the biggest offensive player for the Chargers were 2 rushing touchdowns from Amar Johnson. 17 rushing yards, but he also had 2 catches for 68 yards, including a 55-yard bomb. As for the Texans, the only touchdown they scored was off a Davis Mills pass, 9 of 15 for 82 yards and a touchdown. Wow, the Chargers pass defense, at least the backups, actually looked very solid. That touchdown pass went to Jared Wayne from Pitt. You thought I was going to say out of state, didn't you? 7-3 at the end of the first quarter, but then Chargers scored 24 unanswered. This could be bad news for the big Orions in Houston. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's preseason. I'm sure they'll change it eventually. Up next, we got pretty much one of the highlights for the Cardinals season, at least at this stage of the NFL preseason. Cardinals beat the Raiders 27-14. Now I got one question for y'all. Is Minshew Mania back? 14 of 16 for 100 yards and 2 scores, and even Jacoby Brissett went 5 for 5 with a score. Of course, Jacoby Brissett threw to Marvin Harrison for a 7-yard touchdown. The 2 touchdowns thrown by Minshew went to Jalen Brooks and Simi Fehoko. This was also Tyler Allgeier's first game in a Cardinal uniform. Jeremiah Love's first game in a Cardinal uniform, even though it was preseason. Both were solid, at least with the carries they got, because Allgeier only had 4 carries. Jeremiah Love had 11, and he had some pretty good highlights too. And as for the Raiders, Fernando Mendoza played in his first preseason game, and he was 10 of 16 for 97 yards and a score. Kirk Cousins went 5 for 6 for 50 yards and a touchdown, and then Aiden O'Connell just existed. Mike Washington had a very impressive 53-yard run. I saw the highlights, and that was impressive. Kirk Cousins' touchdown pass went to Michael Mayer, and the touchdown pass by Mendoza went to Jack Besh. Yes, indeed, I remembered how to say that guy's name. Also wanted to highlight the fact that the Cardinals had a second-half shutout against the Raiders. They ended up winning 27-14. Pretty good, Cardinals. Not going to save you from how brutal of a schedule that thing is for the regular season. And our final Thursday game came between the Titans and 49ers, with the Titans winning by 6. Just 1 touchdown the entire game. Not gonna lie, Titans QB situation, I mean, Cam Ward should get better when he has those weapons around him, but did not have a great preseason game here. Neither did anyone on Tennessee. There was one shining line as a touchdown there for Tony Pollard. And the other player I wanted to highlight for the Titans was Joey Sly, because he also had a long field goal of 58 yards, and he was 4 for 4 for 13 points. I told you the kickers absolutely killed it in that Thursday slate. And as for the 49ers, Curtis Rourke and Adrian Martinez were the quarterbacks. I mean, Curtis Rourke was pretty good, and he was probably the better one there. Martinez threw 30 times, completed 16 passes. Then Patrick Taylor somehow, someway had a touchdown despite having negative yards. He probably got shut down for 4 carries, but that 1 carry for 1 yard went for a score. A couple good receivers there. Deshaun Striplin, the rookie, had 7 catches for 63, and Jordan Watkins, 10 targets, catching 6 of them for 59 yards. That's pretty insane. That wraps up the Thursday slate. Titans get a preseason victory. Probably not going to change much. Then we got 3 games on Friday to talk about. First up, Washington beat Miami 20-7. I will say takeaways from this game for the Dolphins. Achane is going to be pretty much the entire offense, and also some bit of Ollie Gordon. Because look at the quarterback performance. I mean, Malik Willis didn't play that much. He wasn't that bad, but then the rest of them, oh boy. Cam Miller, 3 of 11, 39 yards, 2 picks. Quinn Ewers, 1 of 8, 27. Interception. Yeah, so, if Malik Willis goes down, yeah, the Dolphins are cut that quarterback. Passing for Washington wasn't that much better, but at least they didn't throw as many interceptions. Sam Hartman threw the only interception. There's no way he's starting another game again. Marcus Mariota threw 2 passes, and Ethan, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, he is from Rutgers. He went 6 of 10 for 87 yards. There were some positives here, as 2 rushing touchdowns, one by Katrin Allen, rookie for Penn State, and one by Robert Henry Jr., who had 6 yards a carry. And this was also the rookie from UTSA. If you don't know what UTSA is, it's University of Texas, San Antonio. And of course, you already know Washington's defense got 3 picks. Spencer, Quan Martin, and Alekaho ended up getting interceptions. Started off great for Miami, then they allowed 20 straight points, and they didn't score the rest of the way. It's gonna be a long season for Miami. Yeah, I watched some bits of this, and safe to say, hopefully our starters can do a lot better than our depth. Yeah, Broncos beat the Falcons in preseason 27-7. It wasn't even close. It was 24-0 at halftime. Key players to highlight: Jarrett Stidham, 9 of 15 for 131 yards and a score. And that pass ended up going to a running back, Jaleel McLaughlin. Cortland Sutton had a couple big catches, including one for 40 yards, 3 catches for 60 yards total. Troy Franklin had a 23-yarder, and Evan Engram had a 24-yard reception. Classic Sean Payton of spreading the wealth. And there was only one defensive touchdown that entire game, and that came from Jahdae Barron. And also the defense in general was just unforgiving. And for Atlanta, gotta say, highlights from this one: quarterback situation, not great. Tua had an awful start when he fumbled the ball in his first pass attempt. It was going to be a pass play, by the way. Cooper Rush stunk. I mean, he had 2 interceptions, 7 of 19 for 62 yards. Jeff Strand, the 4th-string quarterback, ended up being the best quarterback here. 6 of 12 for 50 yards. But then he also ran for the only touchdown of the game. And also, J.D. Bertrand did something right for once in his life. Yeah, so if this quarterback play doesn't improve, yeah, this might be a long season. Don't think it's going to be as bad as the Dolphins, but it's going to be pretty long. And then the third and final game for Friday, Bucks beat the Jets 24-16. Obviously, I mean, are we even shocked? Takeaways from this game: Jalen Daniels playing pro football? Yeah, he ended up going 10 of 15 for 111 yards. Pretty good. And he ran for a score alongside Josh Williams. And of course, defensively, 2 sacks for Pyburn, 4 total, and 2 interceptions by Rashad Wisdom and Aiden Garnes. I need some wisdom in life too, Rashad. Leave Tampa Bay, sign with Atlanta. That's my word of wisdom for you. What? We need all the defensive help we can get. For the Jets, not much too positive here. Brandon Allen scored one of the only touchdowns of the game. I think it might have been the only one. Oh yeah, because the Jets kicked 3 field goals. But yeah, Bailey Zapp sucked. 2 interceptions, 6 of 10 for 55 yards. Kate Cotton was pretty good. Brady Cook was decent. 2 forced fumbles from Michael Walker and Marcelino McCrary Ball, and they didn't get a single one. The turnover drought continues. Well, at least the interception department does. So that's not going well for them either. And 3 for 3, and Jets ended up having 2 field goals in this game. Field goal kickers in this game. K. George made 2 of them, and Jason Sanders. When the hell did he leave Miami? Blowing a 10-point lead doesn't help at all. Aaron Glenn, your days are numbered. Like, seriously. And now we move on to the final day of preseason week 1, the Saturday slate. And there were 7 games here. This is going to be long. I'll try to make them as quick as I can. First up, Bears bludgeon the Browns 34-10. Not a good start for the quarterbacks. Maybe other than Diddy Watson. I mean Deshaun Watson. But hey, man, at least Casey Concepcion actually impressed the people with a rushing touchdown for 14 yards, and he actually got 3. And for the Bears, Case Keenum's magic is not out yet. Perfect QBR rating, only he ended up throwing more touchdowns than incompletion. Badger was pretty okay. Miller Moss came in there, didn't do too much. 3 touchdown receptions were by self-and-a-man Maurice Alexander and running back Britton Brown. 2 players on defense to highlight are Jamari Chroma with 2 sacks, a forced fumble and his own recovery, and 2 picks for Beanie Bishop. Steelers, why did you get rid of him? All I can say is, Cleveland, you better fix that QB situation, because if you don't, you're going to be sucking for even longer. Now we got the Bills beating the Panthers 29-14. No Haynes King this time around. I think the Panthers saw enough. They just said, you know what, you made the team after that game-winning touchdown in the Hall of Fame game. But anyways, Kenny Pickett had a much better game. 16-19 for 92 with a touchdown. Kyle Trask, and there were some good and bad moments. It pains my soul to see Casey Washington wearing a Rivals uniform. Blech. But the receiving touchdowns came from John Mechie and Jasim Reed. John Mechie on the Panthers now? Now for the Bills, Kyle Allen was actually pretty efficient. 14-16 for 108. Josh Allen came into there just to get some experience, just to make sure he doesn't, get rusty. Ended up being 6 of 8 for 111 and a score. 2 rushing touchdowns as well for Ian Wheeler and Frank Gore Jr. Haven't heard that name in a while. And of all people to get a touchdown catch, it's Keon Coleman. A 4-sack game from the Bills defense. Mike Dent ended up having 2. And an interception from Connie Walker. So yeah, I think the Bills are going to be just fine. Now we transition over to the All-NFC matchup between the Vikings and Giants, where Minnesota wins 13-10. Both Kyler and JJ played. They didn't play too much, though. But Carson Wentz threw the only touchdown in the game for Minnesota. And it was Miles Price who ended up getting the touchdown catch. He had a pretty solid day, too. 4 catches for 51 yards as well. Unfortunately, my man Tyler Batty didn't play in this game. But Vikings didn't need him because they got 4 sacks and 2 interceptions the entire game. An interception for Jacob Roberts and another one for Jacob Thomas. Whoa, do we need to start naming the linebacker core the Great Wall of Jacob? Jacob Roberts from Wake Forest and Jacob Thomas from JMU. Oh, now I see why the Minnesota defense had 2 picks, because of Brandon Allen. Yeah, just hang up the cleats, man. As for the Giants, Jameis Asher was efficient. Jackson Dart threw a touchdown. Jackson Dart's touchdown, that was the only one of the game for the Giants, ended up going to rookie from Notre Dame, Malachi Fields. I'm pissed. Our wide receiver 2 is really going to be Jahan Dotson. Well, we could have gotten this guy, or Jacoby Lane. I'll talk about him later. I'm seething right now. Saints don't tell the whole story about Jack Kelly from BYU, but yeah, she had a good game too. All that receiver issue aside, this was a pretty good defensive game. Who was hot last wins the game, and it ended up being the Vikings in the third quarter. Second half shutout for the defense as well. Good job, Brian Flores. Now we transition to the Rams-Chiefs game, where LA takes down Kansas City 22-12. Every single one of y'all were criticizing the Rams for this pick. Even Sean McVay was criticizing it. But my goodness, were we all wrong. This is the QB of the future, and yeah, NFL beware. 21-25 for 190 and 2 scores for Ty Simpson in his first game. Oh, Lord. It's pretty interesting to note that a running back was the one who got both of those touchdown catches. Dean Connors, rookie from Houston. For Kansas City, Garrett Nussmeier, he was pretty decent. Emmett Johnson's showing why he could be an RB2, maybe RB1 in the near future with a 4.9 yards per carry kind of performance. Jalen Royals got some action, so did Fresno State guy Nico Remigio. But it was Jaden Ott who had the most receiving yards with 2 catches for 40. No turnovers at all. It was just who had the better offense at the very end, and that was the Rams in the fourth quarter, outscoring Kansas City 14-3. Ty Simpson keeps this up, but yeah, the league's in trouble. Now we move on to Jags against the Saints. 24-20, Jacksonville wins. One thanks to 18 points in the second half, another to a defensive shutout. Jacksonville came back again? It does suck that Joey Aguilar only threw 1 pass and it was a 43-yard bomb, and Nick Mullins sucked. You should have given Joey Aguilar Nick Mullins his passes. But the best quarterback, of course, was South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley. 10-17 for 105, a touchdown and a pick. Virginia running back Jamari Taylor had the only rush touchdown for Jacksonville. 4 sacks and only 1 turnover. That was the forced fumble by Yasir Abdullah that was recovered by B.J. Green. Now for the Saints, Zach Wilson's back. No, not the Jets Zach Wilson. We're talking about college Zach Wilson is back. Ended up going 11-16 for 145 and a touchdown. He actually said in his post-game interview that he was willing to just learn behind a quarterback instead of, rushing in again like he did with the Jets. This is not the same Zach Wilson you're used to seeing. And of course, Audric Estime had the touchdown run. That touchdown pass by Zach Wilson went to Oscar Daup. The big 3 from the defense for New Orleans, 2 sacks for Michael Hellman, and the 2 players with interceptions. That would be Jalen Ford had the first interception, and then Jaden Price had the second. But alas, the 2 interceptions and the win in the turnover battle was not enough. Don't tell me New Orleans is going to do this again in the regular season. I mean, that'd be fun for me. And then we got the Ravens beating the Eagles 24-7. This does not mean much at all. Believe it or not, the only touchdown for the Eagles came from quarterback Cole Payton. Quarterbacks weren't the greatest. Not only did Cole Payton throw a touchdown, he also had 3 carries for 45 yards. Okay. Touchdown reception, of course, came from Eric Ezukama. Oh, and that was just a garbage time touchdown. This has also got an alarming. Eagles defense got 2 takeaways. Forced fumble by Sean Way, recovery by Ambry Thomas, and the other turnover was a Keely Ringo interception. So how did Philly lose? 1, because of great defense. 2, because of Joe Fanano, it's the touchdown pass, 22-28 for 224 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns by Adam Randall and Austin Reed. That one touchdown pass went to Jacoby Lane. So I was going to talk about him later when I was talking about Malachi Fields. Yeah, this Jacoby Lane was the pick after Zachariah Branch, by the way. I was going to show his stats, but he didn't do anything. You know why? Because we drafted a special teamer in the 3rd round. Ravens defense did a great job shutting down the Eagles' backups, and yeah, this should be hopeful for Baltimore fans out there. I mean, defensive depth is definitely in good hands. And of course, the final game, preseason week 1, was between Dallas and Seattle. Cowboys win. Shut out the Seattle backups in the second half, really the last 3 quarters. Joe Milton and Sam Howell impressed, both with a touchdown pass, and they were both to Camden Brown. I'm safe to say you, brother, made the team. Defense actually didn't do too bad. They got 3 sacks the whole game, and they shut out Seattle, except for the first quarter, for the last 3 quarters of the game, like I just mentioned. The only really highlight here to do for Seattle was a touchdown pass from True Law to Monterey Foster Jr. 2nd-year man out of Michigan State. And he is, what? He's 25? Best defensive player for this game, that's the only one I'm going to highlight. It was Tyrese Knight with 7 tackles. Wow, good job. The defending Super Bowl champions lose their first game of the preseason. That's not going to mean too much. First week of preseason games has concluded, 2 to go. That's it for Grizzly Talks Football's episode for today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give this a bit that thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. This is the greatest sign off for now, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace, love, keep the Grizzly vibes at all times. Take care.